Welcome back to Bad Nightmarish Night, episode 3. We're already on our third episode. I've changed the background. We're going strong. We upload what days is it? Tuesdays? It's Tuesdays and what? Thursdays? I think
Tuesdays and Thursdays, yeah.
yeah, Tuesdays and Thursdays at 9:38 exactly. That's what the time is, don't question
And
it.
sometimes with a random special episode on Saturdays,
Yeah.
if we're feeling it, you
When
know.
we're feeling extra inspired, we'll drop a little bonus episode for all of our millions of fans out there, or soon to be millions of fans out there, I
Soon to
should
be,
say.
soon to be.
Mm-hmm.
Hey,
All
we
right,
got
well,
an extra view on the last video, right? We got an
that
extra
is
view.
true. We also start uploading on Anchor, so if you use Spotify for your podcast, I haven't done the other platforms because you have to you have to do a bunch of stuff to do it. But if you use Anchor or Spotify for your podcast, you can catch it on there. Like if you're using it like while you're on your way to work or whatever, and you don't have YouTube Premium and you want to just use Spotify, you can do so. We finally have also
Yeah,
gone to
go check it
Spotify.
out. That'll help a lot.
Mm-hmm. James sadly isn't here today. He was a bit busy, so it's just the two lads, Ben and Austin. And
Yep.
to start off the podcast like we always do, Ben, what song are you listening to?
I'm listening to High Again by the band Girlfriends. It's a really good song, and I will always say that whatever song I'm listening to is good because and out of 10, I give it like a 9.5 because it is extremely good. And also, I relate to some of the lyrics. Like the one lyric he says, "I was in the back row carving out my heart into my notebook," and that's facts for me because I used to write in school. Like whenever I was bored, I used to just write and shit. So,
Hmm.
um, that part resonates with me a bit. But yeah, it's a really good song. You should check it out. Most of the songs are gonna be like a 9 and above or like an 8 and above, like 8 probably minimum. And the reason is I don't listen to garbage. I mean that I'm sorry, I listen to music for like 24 hours a day, so I'm pretty cocky when it comes to the music I listen to whenever I say that it's good.
Yeah, I've gotten a
But
lot
the
of
thing
music
is,
recommendations from him. Pretty good. Pretty good.
yeah, and people are like, "No, music sucks if it doesn't have good lyrics or music's blah blah blah." No, there's so many different types of good music out there. Like I listen to many different types. I mean, I listen to every genre and subgenre. Like I have a 24-hour playlist with like just every song that I listen to that I started like a few months ago. I just add stuff to it. But anyway, some songs are good just to like listen to, like not even focus on lyrics. And then other times, like I usually listen to lyrical music, but sometimes I just listen to songs that have like a good beat to listen to with not a lot of vocals or like
Or just a
bad
song
vocals,
that
but the beat
could be
carries.
nostalgic.
Well, not
For
bad
some,
vocals, but, like, I should say, like, mediocre. Because I don't listen to, like, straight up garbage, like but I'll
yeah.
listen to, like, some songs that, yeah, they have mediocre lyrics, but, like, it depends on what I'm listening to it for. It depends on the mood I'm in. Like, if I wanna get hype, I might listen to a song that doesn't have good lyrics at all, but it just gets you hype.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of like how it is with a lot of people with other than just music. I mean, there's songs that I listen to that I know that my friends either just straight up like don't like or they just don't listen to because they're not like big fans or whatever. But it's just because sometimes there's some songs I just like the sound of. Like sometimes I just like hearing those songs or they're very catchy to me personally. So I mean, I don't really care if somebody doesn't like it. I'm gonna listen to it, and like the same thing with with like books and movies and TV shows and video games and stuff like that. Like I actually talked about this today. Funnily enough, Call of Duty Black Ops 4 is not a very favorite Call of Duty game among the Call of Duty fan base or whatever. But I fucking love that game. That's like one of my favorite Call of Duties. People be like, you like Call of Duty Black Ops 4. But you know what? For me, I had so much fun playing that with my friends. The multiplayer was a blast. Yeah, was it the most balanced? No, because it had all the specialist stuff and
I
all
remember I
that
used to
great.
use the ICR, but I used
Yeah,
that from the start before it was like, that
the gun
gun's
that
so OP,
everybody
but there were
used.
way more OP guns than that. That one was just the most like average gun, like
That was
out
like
of
the
the
one that
OP
everybody could
ones.
get
It was
access
so
to
easy to
early.
use.
But like the game
I just
was
loved using it. I love
fun.
the feel.
Mm-hmm. I enjoyed using it too. I used it a lot until what was the gun that I used the what was it? Was it called the GKS? Yeah, I think it was called the
Yeah,
GKS. I liked using that gun because
you use that on your 17 kill game
yeah, that was those are all fun. But like
in duos, and I died early, and you literally got all of those kills by yourself after I was dead in a duos match. Like,
yeah,
that's what
in
was
Blackout that
crazy.
was Blackout was also really fun. I think it's the in my opinion that is like my favorite battle royale. I really enjoyed it. I really loved it. I was really good at it too. But I'm also really good at Warzone, but I don't consider myself actually good because like Warzone is easy, okay? I know that that's going to hurt some people's feelings out there, but it is. The time to kill is like just boom boom you're dead. It doesn't matter what gun you're using. You can use the I remember whenever the everybody would just use the MP5 with like the same like 5 attachments on it and then you would just instantly shred people. I mean, it's not hard. Like
I've never actually played Warzone, not once.
it's really I swear to God, there's a dog barking outside. I'm gonna have to close my window. But um, it's very the time to kill so fast that it doesn't. I feel like you could say there's still skill expressions of like when it comes to, like sniping, but like all you got to do is just take the best assault rifle that has the best range and the best recoil control while also having at least somewhat decent damage. And then who cares about having a sniper? Because you can still kill them at long ranges. It's just that you're using an assault rifle. You know, and like I don't know. It just doesn't feel right. But in Blackout, I felt like the balance. It felt like an actual battle royale. You know what I mean? It felt like you're playing not just multiplayer. It felt like you're playing a battle royale, and there's a difference, in my opinion, at least, between like
Yeah,
how fast you should kill somebody in a battle royale type game or in a multiplayer kind of Call of Duty first person shooter like game. I feel like the time to kill should be drastically slow. Well, I would say drastically, but it should definitely be slower in a battle royale. And I think Blackout really nailed that, really grasps that. If only they made it free to everybody. If they made it free to everybody, then Warzone wouldn't exist right now. At least that's what I
I
think.
agree. Yeah.
But like back to
See, for
the
me, my favorite is Apex. Like, whenever it first dropped, that is like my favorite. I still enjoy it now, but oh man, there's just too many broken things and too much power creep for me to ever be able to enjoy that game the same. I like a lot of the new character designs and stuff. They're cool and they're fun, but like in terms of balance, the game is just so unbalanced. And also, not to mention, the servers are literally worse
yeah, the servers
than
are really
whenever
bad.
it first came out.
The servers were good that I wouldn't really mind just like constantly playing it, but
But when I die because my screen's frozen because the servers are just terrible, then that's just discouraging and I don't feel like playing. Especially whenever I sometimes that happens as soon as I log on. Other times it happens like after a few games or after like 5 games. Like it's just annoying when it happens.
yeah. And but circling back to the like the original topic, which is like, you know, sometimes people enjoy things even if they're not like widely considered by like the public or their critics as like a good game or a good song or you know, a good movie or whatever. I really enjoyed playing Black Ops 4 even though that most people didn't like it or hated it. I mean, the zombies wasn't the best, but for me I enjoyed the multiplayer. I enjoyed the battle royale, and I don't really care if people are like, "Oh, you like this?" I'm like, "Yeah, I just had a lot of fun enjoying it." It's like this, like there's a lot of songs, like I said, that well, I wouldn't say a lot of songs, but there's a decent amount of songs that you know they're not like the greatest songs ever, but I just like the way that they sound. And there's like obviously certain shows or certain games that people play just because they're fun. You know, they don't have to be like the 10 out of 10 game that you know God of War or you know like it's not like you don't have to be playing Skyrim all the time. You could be playing I can't think of a what's a game that's like not really. I don't know. I'll just say like Overwatch
Not
or something, like because
not
Overwatch kind of
popular
died.
or what?
Like kind of like a game that's a game that really isn't like actually like good. Like it's not like some sort of 10 out of 10 game, but like some but like you enjoy playing it. You know what I mean? Like you just love playing the game even if it's not like a good game. You know what I mean? Because there's like games
Ooh,
like that.
Omega Strikers. Omega Strikers is really fun, but it is horribly imbalanced, and it's not super good in the state it's in right now, to be honest. Like the whole like gameplay and stuff is, but it's just so many people do kill comps that the community's ruining it. The first like week was super fun, or like first 3 4 days or whatever was super fun. But like now, everybody who sucks at actually shooting and scoring
They just do the
just kills
knockout
you.
builds. Yeah, they just do like
Yeah,
the
they
kill
just knock
build.
you out over and over again. And it's super boring because it takes no skill when all you have to do is just walk into somebody like with your car. You just walk into them, you right click, and then you insta kill them with a basic ability you get 2 charges of if you're in the right spot. Like you literally just have to be close to them and they have to be at least in like the middle of the map and in terms of like you shooting them at the wall. So it's a little
Yeah,
disappointing, but it's still very fun. I love the actual hockey aspect, but the kill comps are not it. It's just not cool. It's pretty lame.
yeah. Actually, I have a good game, Fallout 76. Like nowadays, it's definitely a lot better game. But like whenever we played, I mean, we played before the Wastelanders update, before they actually added like NPCs and stuff, and that game was a blast. I mean, I know that
Oh, I
we
love
were
that game.
we were playing together and like playing with like James and our other friends.
I
So
actually
yeah, that
read the
does.
lore and stuff every time I found it, and I actually found like this story kind of interesting. I
Yeah, it
knew it kept
was.
leading on into like a loop, like oh, blah 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 blah. Like every time you found the next thing or the next mission, you completed the next one, got your next orders or whatever. But it was just always cool actually being invested in what the missions were about. Like,
Yeah,
yeah, you don't have an NPC to vocalize it for you. So you actually have to internalize it yourself by actually paying attention to it. But it was still interesting. And the best part is you didn't even have to do that to enjoy the game. You could completely ignore all of the stuff that it was telling you, like all the interesting lore, and you still have a blast because the gameplay was super good too.
yeah, and that's like a game that a lot of people shat on. I mean, like again, nowadays it's had like a comeback, like how No Man's Sky, which is a top tier game now. Um, No Man's Sky was also a game when it first came out that I still love playing because the vibe of it was just so good, and like the music just created a certain atmosphere for me, even whenever the game didn't deliver on like any of its like very ambitious promises like multiplayer and stuff like that, and the game died. Yeah, did I like play it for 500 hours like you can now and still like enjoy the game and stuff? No, but like I played through it even through the like all of the like what's the word unkept promises and like all of the content that wasn't even in the game that should have been. That's a game that I actually really enjoyed. I'm not saying that it's a 10 out of 10 or anything, but like the atmosphere was like a 10 out of 10, at the time whenever I was playing it back in 2016.
Yeah.
But but like that's just kind of what I was trying to get at, like there's certain like games where like the general, you know, like games, music shows, whatever, like the general like public or population or critics or whatever just completely destroyed the game. But like I still, found some sort of enjoyment out of it. Like
Oh
how
man, you just made me think of one. Mass Effect Andromeda is a fantastic game. Solid 8 out of 10. And before anybody shits on it, play the game. Play the game to completion. The main story is like, it's like average. The main story is like average in terms of interesting, at least like from the middle to the end. Like the beginning's kind of interesting, and then it's just like, it's all right. It's not bad. It's not anything special, but the characters are amazing. The characters' missions are amazing. The lore is amazing. The combat, it's better than like any other Mass Effect game in my opinion. Like the actual combat, because I mean, obviously it's like more modern, and the worst part is that game's never getting a sequel. The multiplayer was actually pretty good too. I didn't get to play a lot of the multiplayer, but dude, that is a game I'm 100% gonna buy on PC because I had it on
you
PlayStation.
know what's funny? You just made me think of a game as well. I guess we keep bouncing off of each other here, but my the next game is Batman Arkham Origins. That game is like again, it's like a solid 8.5 out of 10. Like, yes, is it as good as the actual like original Arkham like trilogy? No, but those games are like in a whole class of their own. Like they're like the like some of the best superhero games that ever been created. But like Batman Arkham Origins had an extremely interesting story. I liked it was very stylized and had a very cool theme because you're playing as young Batman, inexperienced. Why did my both of my monitors just randomly turned off? That was weird. But
Didn't that happen another time?
yeah, well, it's like whenever I don't use it because I'm just kind of sitting here, like talking. But I guess I'll have to just remember to sometimes move my mouse so it doesn't shut off. But it was very stylized. The theme was cool. You were a young Batman, kind of making your mistakes, and the whole idea was really cool because what it is. I mean, spoilers for the game, spoilers for Batman Arkham Origins. Ben, I don't think you care if I spoil it, correct?
Oh, I absolutely don't care. I'm never
Yeah,
playing that game. With all
yeah.
due respect, I just don't really play superhero games.
Oh yeah. But spoiler alert for Batman Arkham Origins. If you again, I the game's been out for years, but if you haven't played it or you haven't looked at anything of it, or maybe you're planning on playing it because it is on sale right now. I'm thinking about buying it. Pretty much the Black Mask. He's a he's a villain in like Batman comics and like DC comics. Pretty much it says that Black Mask is like amassing like a whole group of like assassins, and he's like starting to make moves on Gotham City. But you actually find out, and pretty much you get all these assassins sent on you. Like you get a bounty on your head for like $100 million. So like, what were all of them? There's Deathstroke, which is pretty much like the DC Deadpool, but Deadpool was based on Deathstroke, and Deathstroke's like super serious and he's an assassin, blah blah blah.
Yeah, I
But
know who
there's
he is.
yeah, there's Deathstroke, there's Bane. Everybody knows who Bane is, but Bane in this game, instead of him just being like kind of the macho man that doesn't really think and he just punches stuff. He's actually like a brilliant tactician, and he matches Batman on intellect while still also having like the very first version of Venom that he uses. And it's so interesting because Bane feels like a scary fucking threat. Like whenever you first meet Bane, which is like halfway through the game, dude, he folds you. He absolutely folds you. It's actually so cool. And pretty much he matches you on intellect and stuff, and he like almost kills Alfred and stuff, and like he literally like destroys Wayne Manor and stuff. Like it's really cool. Like the like how scary them. It's like it's kind of like the Bane from The Dark Knight Rises. Like how Bane is just more like a he's
He's
more
like
of
intelligent.
yeah, he's like intelligent. He's like scheming and stuff. I mean, that's kind of like what he was, but obviously a little more like video game comic bookish than like the one on the big screens. And then there's a bunch of other assassins that are sent after you. I'm not going to name all of them because I could spend 20 minutes doing that. But pretty much a bunch of assassins sent after, and all of them are like different boss fights. They're unique. They have different unique mechanics that make them like either fun or interesting. But then it turns out that Black Mask, he takes off the mask, and it turns out that it's actually young Joker who's like planning all of this. I mean, it all comes back to Joker. He's like like one of the greatest villains ever. But it all comes back to him. It was his plan because he thought it was interesting, like Batman was interesting, and like he has like connections with him and like the Batman lore and stuff like that. And it's just so cool. It's like so stylized. It's during Christmas. It's like during like the Christmas season and stuff. Like Gotham's covered in snow, but there's all these like beautiful lights and decorations and all that kind of stuff. Like even Batman drops this one dude. He's hanging him over this building. It's like at the very beginning of the game, so he can get information. And he's like, and he was wearing like a Santa hat, and then Batman like holds him upside down. The Santa hat falls down. He's like, tell me what Black Mask is doing, or like Penguin or whatever. And then he's like, I'm sorry, I'll tell you. And then he tells him, but then he literally drops him in this giant Christmas tree that was like right below. It was actually so cool. But that's another game that people like absolutely shout on. And there's a multiplayer mode where you would play. It was like pretty much. So you know how like in Star Wars Battlefront, there's like heroes versus villains where you play as like like Luke Skywalker
Yeah.
versus Darth Vader or whatever. They had like a heroes versus villains thing in Batman Arkham Origins where it was like, you would play as thugs, like the normal thugs that, Batman or like Robin would take down, like, knock them out silently or whatever, just beat the shit out of them. Right, but you start as them, but if you keep going on like kill streaks, like if you keep killing the heroes and stuff like that, then pretty much you could turn into like Bane. Like you could unlock and turn into like Bane or like the Joker or something like that. Like it was just like heroes or it was just like normal multiplayer in Battlefront where you could like gain enough points to become a hero or whatever. It was actually so fun, but they shut that down like a few years ago. But I'm sorry, I went on a tangent there, but that was another game that I'm probably going to buy here like tonight or tomorrow that I'm gonna download and play again because it was so fun.
But But yeah, Mass Effect Andromeda and Batman Arkham Origins, definitely worth checking out.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I've seen a lot of cool stuff about Andromeda. I haven't played it myself because I know that it goes on sale for like a couple bucks or whatever, so I might have to buy it because that gives me yet another game that I can like play, like
Dude,
a single
that
player game.
game is so good. Like, I'd never, after playing that game, because I heard about everybody shitting on it, but I never watched the gameplay. I
It was
never
like the
shat on
face.
it
I
or
know why they
anything
were
because I like
shitting on
loved
it.
Mass Effect. Yeah, the facial animations fucking
They were
sucked
they
whenever the
were
game
really
came
bad.
out. But it's like, I cannot believe people got that upset about facial
Yeah, I mean
animations.
that shouldn't stop you from playing and enjoying the actual gameplay itself.
Yeah, like they really don't know what they're missing. That gameplay is so good. Stories, like I said, the story's pretty good, but the side quests and stuff are like 10 out of 10. Like all the lore, all the side quests, like interesting. The characters are amazing, like so good.
Oh, I have one more. I have one more, but I won't spend as much time on it. I just bought it recently. Middle Earth, Shadow of War. That game got shat on because it had loot boxes and you could buy them like as microtransactions. Yeah, microtransactions suck, but you didn't have to buy them. You weren't just like nerfing yourself or they weren't just ruining your gameplay because you weren't spending money on the loot boxes. It was just an extra way of them to like make money off the game or whatever. Because that's whenever the loot box craze is really becoming like the craze, with every game. But the gameplay is so good. The Nemesis system, I'm not going to explain it, but look it up. Like the Middle Earth Shadow of War, or just look up Shadow of War and Nemesis system. It is so cool. And you pretty much, it's based in like the Lord of the Rings. It's like a prequel to like the Lord of the Rings. I don't know if it's canon. I don't think it's canon, but pretty much it's like a story
I
that's like
don't
it's
think,
considered like a prequel to the Lord of the Rings, pretty much, like in
but
that
it would make a
universe.
damn good prequel
It
if it
would,
was.
because Talion is literally just a Giga Chad. That's the main character that you play
Stallion
as.
is literally like one of the iciest characters in fiction, in medieval
I agree.
fiction.
It's so good. And then Celebrimbor is just he's. I mean, he's icy, but he's also such a meme. Just
Like you
Talion.
think Gandalf is icy, you should see Talion.
Yeah, and pretty much you can dominate orcs that are like they're like captain. Well, you can dominate any orc, even like the grunts. But ones that already exist, they're like called captains. They're like the super strong orcs that have different traits and abilities and classes and stuff. Pretty much you can dominate them as long as they're your level or below. And pretty much you can recruit them to your army. And then you have to create an army and then you siege, like there's like 5 or 6 major areas. And you build up your orc army with your captains and your grunts, and then you siege the main fortress that has the warlord and his war chiefs. It's so cool. It's like one of the most fun games to play. The gameplay of that is like a solid like 15 out of 10. Just how fun it
Yeah,
is to build your
and
army. There's
addicting.
no other game. So good. But again, it lost a lot of popularity and lost a lot of money because people are like, oh my god, loot boxes, this is bullshit. Well, I want to tell all those people one thing. First of all, you're fucking stupid. You just missed out on such a fun game. And second of all, I got like 50 loot boxes for free, by the way. Like I got like over 100 to like between $100 to $300 worth of loot boxes for free just by doing the challenges because there was ways to get them for free. And I think was that my second point. And then third of all, you don't have to buy loot boxes because the thing is the loot boxes like go around the cool gameplay of dominating the orcs. All you got to do is dominate the orcs and play the game with the fun part of the game.
And plus, you can actually go and seek them out and choose your targets to go and try to brand to like convert to your army or
Mm-hmm.
whatever.
And then like you could also pretty much if they're too high of a level, you can shame them and stuff. But sometimes they'll become deranged, and then they don't like they can't speak anymore. It like the sheer amount of detail and layers of like
And
AI.
consequences, like,
Mm-hmm. And if you die to a grunt, like for example, on the hardest mode, you die in like 1 to 2 hits, no matter who's hitting you. So if you die to a grunt, then
it's
that
so
grunt gets
funny.
promoted. He'll be like, "Oh, I'll be known as the Tark Slayer," because the orcs call you the Tark, and he's like, I'll be known as the Tark Slayer, and then you'll see him get promoted to a captain, the dude that
Yeah,
just killed you, and then you can go on a vendetta mission, and let's just say his name was like Oruk, like the Tark Slayer, like that'll be his title since he killed you, and you go on a vendetta mission to either kill him or recruit him to your army. It's so cool. I could go on for hours, but I'm just that game is highly recommended. It's on sale right now. I recommend buying it.
And no, we are not sponsored.
We're not. I wish I was, bro.
Not big enough for sponsors yet, but I wish we were.
All right, I'm sorry about going on all my tangents about games that got shat on but are actually good or that I think are good.
No, you're good.
But
It's like I didn't hear too much talk about Dragon Age Inquisition either. That game's really good. I still honestly like. I mean, I played Origins like whenever it came, or not whenever it came out, but like on 360, like probably like a year or two after it came out. Like I was extremely young. And I played through that game like over and over and over again. Like I loved that game. And I do think that the like story and characters and stuff is just better in the first one because like the just the way that that game is told, like the story is just so good. The characters, the voice lines, like they're so good and so well written. Not to mention the combat, like the combat system for back then, like is very impressive. Like it's extremely impressive.
yeah, there's just
Inquisition
like
was really good. Sorry, but Inquisition was really good. The gameplay was like it was way cooler because you still had the cooldown and stuff, but it was like actually free control instead of just being like select a target. Um, but it was just it was so fun. It was so cool. The characters were also still really good. I don't know why I didn't hear a lot. I mean, I know it didn't get like shat on, but definitely didn't get the recognition it deserves.
yeah, that's true because like it goes on like I remember back whenever like it recently came out like a few months, it was like already going on sale, and I'm not saying that like games that go on sale a few months after they come out are like shit or like they didn't do well. But like I never saw any like ads or any sort of like promotion on it, and then it just like constantly was on sale for like and then it like dropped down to like $20 or whatever, and then like it would just like be on sale constantly like all the time. I just remember that like whenever I used to play on my
Yeah,
PS4 and stuff.
it goes on sale a lot. I'm gonna have to pick it up on PC. I still haven't finished my Origins playthrough yet. I'm playing through on the hardest difficulty right now. It's going really well though. Um, I'm doing a lot better. Like I knew I'd be rusty since I haven't played in a long time, but like I'm honestly still doing extremely well. I'm not really even that rusty.
Yeah, it's really fun playing on difficult modes once you've either already played a game or beat a game. I actually really like the challenge of playing a game that you were either good at or you knew the mechanics of, and then you just like get absolutely
Dragon Age
destroyed.
also has a lot of replayability, like a lot.
Yeah,
Because there's like two different like origin stories because it starts on like your origin story. There's like two different origin stories per race, and you can play as human, elf, or dwarf. When I do Nightmare, I always do dwarf. The only race that I don't play is human, just because when I play a fantasy game, I want to play a fantasy character.
that's fair.
And the humans bonuses aren't as cool either. It's like +1 in 4 stats, when the elf is +2 in one stat and +2 in another stat, like wisdom
It's
and
kind of like D and
intelligence, I
D,
think.
like with the races, because like the humans get +1 in all like stat blocks or whatever.
Yeah, it was, and I forget what the dwarfs was, but I know it was like +2. Pretty sure it was +2 Constitution, +2 Dexterity, or like +2 Con, +2 Strength, something like that. One of them was Con, but also the dwarf has a third part of its race bonus. Because I mean, and I guess it's because it's the first game. They probably didn't think like to add it, But and it is still a really good game. But they have a 10% chance to completely ignore, and this is their racial bonus, like on top of the +2 +2. So you're getting an extra thing, 10% chance to ignore any hostile magic, 10% chance for any enemy spell to not
Damn,
work on you, any and every enemy spell, 10% chance to just not work.
that's really strong.
And it's not
That's
like that replaces the +2 +2. It's just on top of it for no reason. It's so cool. Like it makes Nightmare so much easier in the late game. Because I mean, you can just think of that as like a 10% increase in resistance to magic. And also the thing that's interesting is there's different voice lines based on like the race you pick. There's like slightly varying voice lines at some points in the story. There's one character who gets introduced who's a mage, and the group you're with is like afraid, like, no, the witch of the swamp or something. I don't know, whatever. And she was like, "Why are you so afraid?" She was like, "I just want to talk." She was like, "Well, you there?" And I forget what she said. She was like stone skin or something, or that because like the dwarves live underground. Some shit like that. I don't remember exactly. But she was like, why don't we talk? You have nothing to worry about." And she said that because of like the racial bonus. Like it's not just a bonus, it's also like in the lore of the world that like
Yeah, it's
dwarves
like
are like
a
resistant to magic.
it has like a kind of like a lore implication, or it kind of like changes some of the remarks that like the characters will make and stuff.
Yeah, it's really cool. Um, and that's why like it's just so interesting. Like everything comes full circle with the detail.
Yeah,
So I
that's
mean, it's not
fire.
like the 10% is for like no reason. I just think that like the human and elves should have gotten like something small or like on the same level as
Something
that.
like a little extra, like how the
But like I said, it's their first game. I mean, obviously there's only so much that they could add. That was their first game in the series. I mean, but yeah, fantastic game considering how old it is. Like, there's not many games that I can even sense the same quality in.
yeah, it's like you can like when you play like certain games, you can just like feel like kind of you feel like the effort and like the I'm sorry hiccups. You can feel the effort and kind of like love that was put into the game, or like the kind of like whoever created this game kind of had like they didn't just think like I want to make money off of this. It was like I want to create an experience for the player.
Exactly. They were like, let's make something amazing.
Exactly.
Every game creator back then was like, let's make something that's going to shock the world and outdo the next guy. Since everybody was releasing such banger games,
Yeah.
everybody was trying to outdo each other. Like,
Yeah, it was like it was less about just the aspect of making money, and like again, I'm not trying to throw shade at any game developers, but I'll just use Ubisoft and like their those recent titles. I'm not saying that they aren't fun, but you can very easily tell that they use a lot of the same mechanics, a lot of the same like default kind of
yeah,
stuff that works for like the general like player base, which is nothing wrong with that. Like if you look at the new Assassin's Creed games, all like they all have the objective bars. There's like the missions. They tell you like what the missions are, like that, like they're color coded, so then you know exactly. And again, I'm not saying that that's a terrible thing, but like every single game has that. Every single game has like a similar kind of like they use like the same kind of mechanics or like UI and that kind of stuff. Like it just kind of
yeah, and
it all
it's like
feels like it kind of all feels the same in terms of like the actual like player experience. Even though that the gameplay might be different, the story might be different, the experience itself is still kind of being anchored by like these same like mechanics or like UI ideas or whatever. I guess that's the way to say it. But if you play a
give me
game
one
like
second. I gotta go potty,
you
bro.
gotta go potty. Oh no, wait, I'll actually be back in 1 second too. Alrighty. Sorry about that. I had to go speak with my mother. I don't know why I said it like that. That was a little weird. But back to what I was saying with like the
And I
Ubisoft
had to go
stuff.
speak with the toilet in a liquid form.
Yeah, that's funny. I might have to like clip that or something. That was I don't know why,
And
but
that's copyrighted by me, so y'all can't steal that, nerds.
but pretty much like with the Ubisoft thing, it
Sorry.
all feels the same. They always do the safe bets, the safe plays. Have like the compass at the top and a map in the corner and stuff. And I'm not. There's nothing wrong with it. There's so many games that are great that have that. But Ubisoft just does it a lot, and they do it all the time. It's a kind of like a safe thing. And again, like I keep saying it, but there's nothing wrong with that because I know that people shit on Ubisoft all the time, but they make games that are fun. Okay, but
That's true.
but like how you're saying about games like, like game developers 10 years ago and stuff like that. Back when every single game was like competing for game of the year. Like every game that came out was an absolute fucking banger. Like the mechanics, the UI, the experience itself, they weren't just trying to create a good game. They were trying to create a good game that also provides an experience for the player. Like I'll use Dishonored. Dishonored, when you play that game, you feel like you're in Dunwall. You feel like you're in like this kind of dark, kind of gray dystopian, kind of like futuristic ish, like, kingdom or whatever, or like country or city. Like it kind of like you have a vibe when you're playing Dishonored, when you're playing as
Yeah,
Corvo and you're like assassinating people and using the powers or not using the powers, like it felt fun. Like the UI and stuff was cool. It was very simple. And like I'll use a modern game that's 10 out of 10, Elden Ring, but I mean the Souls games are known for being the way that they are, like, no map, no nothing, and just kind of like, you
figure
know,
it out.
yeah, kind of like figure it out, go play. Like that what they want you to do is, hey, we created this experience for you. We created this amazing game with all these bosses and different weapons to try out, and your stats and your builds and all this stuff and difficult enemies, and it's like, hey, just go play the game. We'll, the sites of gracious kind of slightly point you in the right direction, but other than that, just go around and just do what you want, you know? And even though that, games like Dishonored had objectives, I mean, you went into missions and you had to do the objectives, but the game itself was just an experience. Like the vibe and all that kind of stuff all matched. Same thing with like God of War. I know the new one's coming out, but again, I haven't played it, so I can't speak to how good that one is. But I'm hoping and I'm assuming it's going to be good. But in God of War that came out in 2018, whenever you played it, dude, you felt like you were Kratos. You feel like old man Kratos cutting down a tree. That's the first thing. That's like when you start the game. That's how you start, right? You're literally just cutting down a tree with your son, and you're like, oh my god, like look at this world. Look how beautiful everything looks, and kind of the vibe, and like all the the animals in the wilderness and stuff. Like everything just felt so, I don't know, like in place. But it's like a lot of games nowadays you don't feel that way anymore. And it's just kind of sad.
Exactly. No developers seem to like care anymore. And also, when I called you guys nerds, I wasn't calling you guys nerds. I was talking about the people who just like steal stuff and claim it as their own. None of them. I already know none of the listeners are on that type of wave, so just had to
Yeah.
clarify so people don't be like, "Damn, oh,
So we love all the viewers getting through the nightmare with our videos and podcasts.
yeah, we live for our viewers, our 10
Computer
million."
screen turned off again. But sorry, I had to take a sip from my sippy cup.
But yeah, games just don't seem to have the same love or quality, effort as they did back then. Like the amount of effort just declines.
Yeah, and you could use a certain, like, event that's happened in our recent history to attribute that. And during those, what is it, 2 years, right? Was it 2 years, 2.5, 3 years? I don't know. But during that time, yeah, I mean everybody was, working at home and stuff like that. So it can be a little difficult trying to do things not in person. But nowadays, I mean the things are a lot more, you can be around each other and stuff. People follow, the rules, or they're, again, I'm dancing around this because I don't want to get us, because like you can get demonetized for like saying stuff like this, or like saying more aggressive words. I guess that's the way to put it. But you get what I mean. We've taken the precautions. We've
Yeah.
gotten through most of it or whatever, and people are allowed to be around each other. That's what I'm trying to say. So now it's hard for me to just think
I mean,
to
I'm pretty sure
attribute
the
it to that.
president himself said that the pandemic's officially over.
Yeah, like
Obviously, he was like, obviously, there's still people wearing masks or something like that. I'm like paraphrasing, but he was like, yeah, even though there's still people wearing masks, like, there's a lot less. People are actually able to like live their lives again. So
exactly, like life can continue on without being completely like altered. So whenever I see games just declining now, it's less about that event that happened and more about, like, it seems like especially bigger companies are more just kind of like, money, 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 money. See, I would love it if a lot of the games that, have microtransactions or whatever, I don't care if games have microtransactions as long as they're fun or they provide an experience or whatever. Like, again, this isn't going to happen at all. But
And
let's
as
just
long
say
as they
in
aren't required, like
exactly, let's just say in the new God of War game, they add microtransactions by giving you like, I don't know, like funny creative skins or something like that, or like skins you can buy for Atreus, like different clothing or something, like skins, but for a single player game. Yeah, people would be outraged by that, but I would rather them do that and have people spend money on that than them create a shittier game where you're forced to spend money on it, or like it has like a more what's the word, like predatory like transaction system, or like monetary system. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like I would
wanting
rather
to
have
force
that
you.
than it being like, oh, we're gonna make the game kind of shittier, but and then we'll just lock a bunch of shit behind paywalls. See, I would rather it be that way. Because I mean, I think microtransactions, again, while whenever games use it like in the shitty way that we're referencing, if they use it just as a way to make extra money or a way to supply their free to play game by, making so you can, like for Fortnite for example, you can buy skins, but you don't have to buy skins. You're not forced to buy a skin, and that'll alter the
You can
gameplay.
even earn some V-Bucks for free. You do that for like a few passes, just earning the free ones like 3, 4 passes. I'm pretty sure that
Exactly.
you'll be able to get the premium battle pass, and you'll never have to pay for it.
Yeah, and then after that, all you got to, yeah, like you said, all you have to do is just kind of play through until like tier like 80 or page 80, or not page 80, like page 8, because it's like in a page system now or whatever. But you get there, and then if you get the skins that you want or whatever, then you'll just have enough V bucks to buy the next one, and then you actually get some extra V bucks. So then eventually, over multiple seasons, you'll be able to have enough V bucks to maybe buy that emote that you wanted in the shop for free because you just decided to grind or whatever. Like, at least Fortnite, at least you're not forced to spend money on Fortnite to play anything in Fortnite. So at
Yeah,
least, when I see people playing it, I'm not like, ooh, people spend thousands of dollars on it, but they're allowed to do that. But also, I don't spend anything on it. I probably spent like, I don't know, I probably spent like $50 on Fortnite, like when the game first came out
I think
and stuff.
I spent actually I spent no money because my friend bought me the battle pass, and then I just never paid for another one after that because I saved them.
Yeah, and like I probably spent $50. But then after I spent that $50, I probably earned, and again, I lost my entire account of Fortnite, which I'm still salty about because I had all of the OG shit. I was actually a Fortnite OG because one of our friends recommended that we download the game and play it, and I bought the battle pass. So I actually had all of the drippy shit. I had the dude with like the kitsune mask and the gold and the black, coat. He was like the first. It was like the first tier reward, and you would need to get like 200,000 XP to level him up
That
to
was
get
like
like the cool
season
shit.
5,
Yeah,
yeah.
season 5. I had that. I only used that skin. I didn't need any other skins because I liked that one so much that I just didn't need another one. And I had probably like at least $300 to $400 worth of stuff that I earned for free, like through the battle passes and stuff. If you like equated the rarities to V bucks or whatever. But then I lost it all. But that's besides the point. Like, I would rather the game be more like Fortnite, where you can spend money on skins, but the game itself is free to play, or that the game doesn't lock any content behind you because there are loot boxes that give you like
Still waiting on
cosmetics.
that promised free save the world from like 2 years ago.
Yeah, I remember when I was like kind of excited because I was like, I kind of want to actually
I was
play what
hyped.
Fortnite was originally meant to be because it actually looked kind of fun.
Yeah, I thought it looked cool. I was like, fire, I get to try it out, see how good it actually is.
Mm-hmm. But
And
they
then
never
they
did
just
that.
never did. Even though they
Shitty.
said 2020 or whatever, 2020, free save the world.
Yeah,
And
like when
the
Tiny.
reason I'm upset is because I know that they're like, it's not like it's just delayed. Like, I just know that they're probably never gonna follow up on that now.
Yeah, because I mean, it's just been so long that they're probably just like, yeah, we're not going to do it now. Because if we were going to do it, we would have done it,
Everybody's
2 years ago.
forgot. I mean, they've been making a lot of good changes, so maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they will, but I'm just not counting on it, is my point.
Yeah.
I'm not
Well,
gonna overhype my expectations for no reason. Plus, now I don't really play that game like ever. I mean, I was gonna like update it to play with my friends because some of my friends it's literally the only game we have in common, and the prop hunt's at least fun. Um, but it just keeps logging me out of my Epic, even though I have Remember Me on. Like it shouldn't sign me out at all, but it does it. It's like, oh, it's for your security. It's like, man, I don't even care enough to look in one of my because I have a few like notebooks for my passwords. Like I have a few different notebooks, and I'm like, I don't feel like digging through all of those just to look for the password for my Epic account because I remember most of my passwords off the top of my head, but like my Epic one, I just don't care enough to remember because the only game that I will ever play on my Epic is Fortnite, or if I decide to download Fall Guys, since I have that in my inventory. 'Cause, I mean, at least
Yeah,
they give out cool games on Epic. It's just I use Steam. Like I just don't feel like having two different applications I have to update and manage. I'm just
yeah, it can
I
be
don't know,
annoying.
like I'm sorry, I just don't feel like it.
Yeah, the only reason why it's important to me to have it is literally because I have Borderlands 3 with all the DLC on there, and I fucking love that game. That's another game that that people think is bad, but is actually good. But I fucking love that game. I've played it a lot. In Tiny Tina's Wonderlands, I've only played a few hours, and I did buy it on release. But the thing is that I was gonna wait until like more content got released, and they're starting to release more content. Well, they already have, but I'm waiting
Pick that
until I
game up
actually,
soon.
yeah, I'm waiting until I'm in like the mood to like play that game like a lot. Because whenever I started playing that game, I was having problems with my
I should
wrists.
start grinding Borderlands 3. I'd be down to get into
You
that
should,
again.
but you need to get the DLC for it because the DLC is just so good. It's so good. You're missing out
I know, but
without
I
the
I want to
DLC.
buy it, but
I mean, the base game itself is fun, and they do give you all of this. They gave you the three seasonal ones, the Cartel, the Bloody Harvest, and the Valentine's Day one, the Heart Day or whatever it's called. You get
all
those
right,
for
well,
free,
we
and
can
you can
play
like
all of
activate
those
them.
once we finish the campaign on the playthrough we're playing right now.
Yeah, but the
We
thing
played like
is
months ago.
thing is with that is really they're fun and they have a lot of really fun weapons and stuff, but it's not like a DLC where you have like a full like kind of like campaign that you play. It's like pretty much you kill enemies, they drop, this certain like for example for the Bloody Harvest one, they drop ectoplasm, you find like ghosts and stuff that like spawn from enemies. Like these like spectral skulls that like that'll attack you and there's like loot ones too that
That's
drop
cool.
legendaries. You kill them, they'll drop ectoplasm, and then you pick up the ectoplasm. You talk to Maurice. He's a Saurian. Saurian. I think it's pronounced one of those ways. It's like a race. He's like kind of looks like a dinosaur. His
Okay,
name's
that's what I was
Maurice.
gonna say. Is it like a reptile or a
Yeah, it's like
reptilian
a
race?
he's like a dinosaur looking dude that's on Sanctuary 3, and he pretty much he's funny, but you talk to him, you'll give him the ectoplasm, and then he'll like open a teleporter that'll
Wait, is
take
he
you.
like the monster type thing?
Yeah, he's like the monster
Yeah,
reptile
dude, I've done
like
some of
dude.
his quests.
Yeah. And then pretty much and then like for example for the Bloody Harvest event, which is like the Halloween event, you go and fight General Haunt, who is the dead version of General Trant. Or is it Captain Haunt or General Haunt? I can't remember. I think
I
it's
have no
Captain
idea.
Haunt. Pretty much Captain Tron is like is like a fan favorite boss from that game because he's like Trant, and the dude does the voice for him is the dude who does the voice for Brooke and the dub of One Piece like that because I
That's
recognize his
awesome.
voice, and he was like Trant, and he just like loves himself and stuff. It's so funny. He's a fun boss too, but pretty much you fight like the dead version of him because he was sent to like hell after you killed him or whatever, so you have to go kill him again and then you can get a bunch of good loot. But that's all it is for like all three of them, and they have their own counterparts. Like with the cartels event, you go to Villa Ultraviolet, and pretty much it's an icy area. All these they all look very nice and very cool. Well, actually, there's only two that do that. The Valentine's Day one is different. There's not an area that you go to. There's just like these bonuses that you can pick up and stuff. But you go to like this villa that's kind of like like Scarface or something like that. It's like some sort of like kind of like villa, like drug cartel, mafia type area, or like at least what people imagine for like the movies. And pretty much you like you get like the things that drop from the cartel enemies that'll spawn, and you go and you fight Joey Ultraviolet, who's like the boss, the big boss, and he's like a raid boss that you fight. He's really cool. But you gotta get the you gotta get the DLC. DLC 3 is literally Japanese Western combined. Doesn't that sound drippy? Because it is.
Sounds awesome. I need to get it. Like, I mean, I love Borderlands.
Then
I
like
need to.
DLC 2 is literally just
I need to get
Eldritch Horror
the
pretty
Game
much.
Pass.
And Sir Hammerlock literally gets
That's
married.
cool.
So drippy. Such a cool event. It's probably my favorite DLC. Just in terms of the actual story and stuff. Also, you get to fight a Wendigo.
That's fire.
But yeah, that's
I
my
watched that
tangent.
movie Antlers. Whenever it came out,
I've never seen
like
it.
what, a year ago or something like that. It's really good, honestly. Like a lot better than I thought it would be, since most of the movies I'd seen lately were flops, especially in the horror genre. What was that one movie we watched? When we went to the, was that you that was with us? I don't remember.
When
It was
probably
it was
not
the
because I don't remember this.
okay, never mind then. It was Easton then. I couldn't remember if it was you or Easton because that movie was so terrible. I just try to like not even remember it because it's a waste of space for how terrible it is.
Are you talking about
It
A
was like
Quiet Place Part 2?
no, 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 no.
That
It
movie kind of
was
sucks too.
it was with the invisible like bedtime monster thing or
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah, that wasn't me.
Okay, yeah. I couldn't remember if that was you or Easton just because like I said, I completely blocked out like that movie. Like I've almost completely forgotten it just because of how bad it was. It
You
was
know,
like
I'm
it wasn't terrible. It was like a 6 out of 10. I've seen much worse movies, but it wasn't what I expected it to be.
dude, we need to dedicate an entire episode to horror movies. I have a lot of like more modern ones that I've seen, or like ones that are like very unknown that I've actually watched because they're on like HBO, like HBO Max and stuff. We should definitely dedicate a video. Like we'll come up with like our good horror movie recommendations from recent years and like talk about them because they were like some of them are like really good or at least really entertaining. But I'm about to bring up a controversial topic here.
Oh
Uh,
no.
but well, it's not as controversial in the way that you or the viewers probably think right now. But I'm talking like in terms of an opinion, and that is
It's a
I
hot
don't like
take.
Marvel movies anymore. I'm starting to like not like them. I was just more like, okay, listen, the Marvel Cinematic Universe peaked at Infinity War. I will stand by that. It peaked. Endgame
Absolutely.
Endgame was good, but Endgame was just pure fan service, and I can understand that because you
Although
need
I
to.
do gotta say, the new Doctor Strange, I will still follow that series because it
Oh,
was.
Doctor Strange is cool.
Oh yeah, the did you see Multiverse of Madness?
No, but I got it spoiled by all of my friends.
Wow, that's so rude. I made sure to not spoil it for you. I don't know why
I
they
mean, but I don't
would.
really care. I mean, but I do have Disney Plus now. We just got it
But
again
dude,
because my grandparents wanted to watch Dancing with the Stars live, so
what
I
I
do
will
have it
say
now.
is that movie is actually good. Now, it's not a 10 out of 10 like everybody says it is. It's more like an 8 or an 8.5, but it's still really good. But
Yeah, I
it's
do look
not
forward to
it's
watching it. I like the first
absolutely not
one.
a 10. Like if it was rated R, I definitely think it could be a 10 if they did stuff like slightly differently or showed more. Because some of the scenes were gruesome enough that holy hell, might as well go for R. But anyway, that movie, the cleverness of all the choices with some of the like magic was just so impressive. Like the one part whenever like the sheets were flying in the air, there were like music sheets flying in the air. I was like, oh my! I literally thought to myself, I was like, man, it would be so cool if he actually like pulled notes from there and like threw them at him or something. Like I was thinking that, but I was like, nah, there's no way they'd even think to do that. Marvel's kind of shit now, even though this movie's good so far. And then literally like 3 seconds later, I just see the sheets in the air and like, and he starts using them to fight and stuff. I'm not gonna say anymore, so I don't actually spoil any of the plot points. But it was cool. A lot of
Yeah,
the
Doctor
stuff they did
Strange,
with
the
the
whole
magic.
idea of him is really cool. My issue with Marvel movies is I know that they're trying to cater to like every audience, including like kids. But like the jokes are so cringe. And I don't like using the word I use the word cringe ironically just because everybody like a lot of people use the word cringe or whatever like just the
Like, I wanna rip my heart out. I wanna, like, take
like
I wanna,
my
like, rip my
ears like
heart
I
in
want to
half
literally cut my
whenever
ears
I
off
hear
whenever
some
I
of the
hear
jokes.
cringe humor. The only good one of the only good comedic relief characters in New Marvel is oh man, why can't I think of his name? Freaking Peter's best friend. Why can't I think of his name?
Ned.
Ned. Yeah, for some reason I kept
Ned
wanting
is
to
actually a goat.
like Ned is a goat, but like everybody else, the jokes just aren't funny, man. Like they're just like okay. I'll again, I don't want to go on a huge tangent, but I'm just gonna say SpongeBob seasons like 1 through 3. That show is a kid show, and yet the humor is just as funny to myself at the you know the young age of 19. That's still young, but I'm older, so you would think that a lot of like kid humor won't land. SpongeBob's humor still lands today just as it did back in 2000, 2002, 2003. Like just it's that good. But the thing is that the Marvel humor, the new Marvel humor, is just terrible,
What I will
man.
say is Doctor Strange has, like, mostly witty jokes or, like,
Yeah, but that
actual
Doctor
funny
Strange is the
slapstick.
exception, though. Like that's like
Yeah,
that's the movie
but
that's the
I agree.
exception.
Like, every other Marvel movie nowadays is just, like,
Like I prefer
it's just
DC.
so cringe. But, like, dude, one of the things he was talking about was, like, dream walking or whatever, and they basically like, they confirmed, like, in the movie that whenever you dream, you're, like, you're basically, like, taking consciousness of you in another universe, hence, like, the multiverse theory. So, I thought that was cool that they actually input that into the movie, but then Wong asked, he was like, "So the dream about me running from a clown while naked?" And the person was like, "Yep, it's out there."
See, like
Like,
that's
I thought that was
funny.
actually funny.
Like
It
that's
wasn't
actually
like a,
funny because it's like it's
"God is
witty.
we got company."
Yeah, like that type of shit. Or like
But there's, like, Doctor Strange has his smart ass witty jokes still, which is good.
yeah, and that's actually like how his character's supposed to be as well. He's supposed to be kind of like a smart ass. He was like obviously whenever he was just a doctor and like was a surgeon or whatever, he was like this really cocky, kind of arrogant dude. And then like the actual Doctor Strange movie happened, he got a little bit humbled, but then after he became the Sorcerer Supreme, I mean, he literally was just, he has his like witty kind of like, like asshole kind of jokes, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
that are actually funny. But the thing is that other than Doctor Strange, none of the other jokes land for me. And I've always preferred DC even whenever the MCU was like with Infinity War stuff because that's just my personal preference. But the thing is, I'm the type of person that likes watching like anything as long as it's entertaining to me. And the MCU was extremely entertaining and extremely fun to watch. Like I would go to the theaters and watch all the movies and stuff like
Yeah.
that. Like it's not like I was just some like hater just because I like DC. I'm not like that type of person. But ever since the new MCU has happened, it's just like I can't watch them. I literally just cannot bring myself to watch them. I have to go and watch old Marvel movies. Like if I do. And the thing is I again, in DC, yeah, there's some jokes that are like I wouldn't say like there's some jokes that are like either cringe or like they're just meant to be more like whatever jokes. But in
Just
DC, it's
DC
so much
isn't
more
afraid of the
serious.
rating R though, whenever it's
Exactly.
actually applicable. Like, not every movie needs to be R. Like, that's not what I'm saying, but, like, there's so many, like, Marvel movies that are gated on how good they can be because of what they're supposed to be about and the characters they're supposed to be about, and they just make it PG-13 and it's mediocre or it straight up sucks.
I
Like
mean, hey,
Venom, I love the Venom movies, but they are mediocre as hell. Carnage literally, like, quote unquote kills, like, all these like, doctors, like, all these people in, like, white lab coats, right? And you can see him visibly, like, stab through some of them and, like, with his, like, weapons and stuff. And there's not even any blood. Like, you don't, and I don't mean, like, very little. Like, there was literally no blood. Like, people getting stabbed and, like, stuff that obviously should have killed them. Like, no blood, no damage. And it's like, I mean, Carnage is a serial killer and he kills a bunch of people. Like, that's literally who his character is. Like, the person who gets the symbiote. I forget the name of the guy. but like it was a serial killer who got Carnage, who was a symbiote who loves killing people, and then they just went and killed a bunch of people together, even though they weren't like true symbiosis or whatever, and eventually like that caused their downfall.
But like, I mean,
The
he's
down
massacring like, like
Yeah, he's
doctors and
supposed
stuff
to
like that. I
massacre
mean,
people.
at least give it a little bit of oomph.
He's supposed to be evil. We're supposed to hate him.
I mean, look at the new Batman movie. It's rated PG-13, but that it's so dark. Like it
I don't
feels
know how
dark.
that was 13.
Yeah, I don't know how they went through with that. Like, I don't know
That
if they.
felt like very bottom R, like
It seemed like a.
extremely good though.
Wait, how old do you have to be to watch rated R movie? Like, what's the recommendation for
17.
17?
Pretty
Okay,
sure it's 17.
that was like, it man, it's like really, they're really like bordering the line. Like, they're probably like 80% of the movie is like, maybe like the reason they didn't rate it that is because there is like a lot of great acting scenes that aren't really graphic
Yeah,
and
that's
stuff, like
true.
between like Bruce and like Alfred and all that kind of stuff. Again, that movie is just stellar all around. The acting, the cinematography is absolutely beautiful, but also like gives the city, and like they gave the city like this modern but also kind of like still stuck back in time vibe. It was weird. I don't know how they like captured that, but they did. I think it's because
The
they showed like a
Riddler
lot
was
of like old
also
stone.
extremely well
Mm-hmm.
written character. Like, I mean, obviously everybody played their parts well, but the way they portrayed the Riddler was extremely well. It was so interesting compared to like the uh, funny man who wears green stuff with
Yeah,
a
and
question mark who's lame. Like, I mean, that was like the stereotype. I don't actually feel that way about Riddler, but like, that was like the stereotype painted by people who like don't actually care about the DC or like pay attention to anything like Gotham related with DC and doesn't actually know anything. Like they
yeah, I
just
mean,
like
look at what like here, like again, like I said, I prefer DC in general, and I also prefer the DC like movies. But like, let's just look at the Dark Knight. When you look at Two Face in the comics, or at least the Two Face that was played by what's his name, Tommy Lee Jones, I believe, in like the old like the Batman's that came out like the '90s. Those ones they wanted to market towards like children, and like Jim Carrey played like the green over the top like Riddler or whatever. And I'm not knocking Jim Carrey because Jim Carrey is just stellar and like everything he does. I love watching Jim Carrey. I
yeah,
love that. I love watching that movie. But the issue is that movie painted like Two Face and the Riddler as like these two goofy characters, even though that Two Face got half of his face like pretty much like melted off or burned off. But then look in the Dark Knight. Look, that movie is dark, and again, that movie is also I think just rated PG-13 by the way. But look at like what Christopher Nolan did with the character of Two Face, just absolutely just masterful storytelling and character like development and stuff like that. And I'm not saying that doesn't happen in Marvel movies. I'm not trying to completely knock Marvel movies or anything, but like that's like the new Batman movie and like the other DC movies. Like I want to see stuff like that because I like it grips me. Like whenever I watch it, I'm like into it. Like I wouldn't say that I'm on the edge of my seat, but like I'm like, oh man, like what's going to happen next? Type, like that type of thing, or like, oh, like this is really interesting. I'm like, it's very interesting where this is going because like you don't know. But like in a Marvel movie,
it's so
usually,
linear.
yeah, in the Marvel movies, unless they're setting up for some other like big crossover movie, it's literally just like the hero wins in the end. And even though that in like DC movies, it's not that the hero never wins in the end, but if have you seen Zack Snyder's cut of Justice League?
No,
Do you care if I tell you anything about it, or you
you've
plan on
already
watching
told
it?
me the whole thing before,
Oh,
so
okay.
spoiler warning for all the
Yeah,
viewers.
spoiler warning for Zack Snyder Cut of Justice League, which is great by the way. It's very good. Pretty much at the end, first of all, the movie overall is extremely dark, but at the end, it shows the future where Batman, Deathstroke, who usually is a villain and like an assassin, Batman, Deathstroke, the Flash before Ezra Miller did all the stuff that he did. Um, uh, what's Amber Heard's? Is her name Mara? Isn't that what her name is from Aquaman? Mara.
I have no idea. I haven't
Pretty
watched
much
that movie in a
her.
while.
So the character that Amber Heard plays, and I don't know if Amber Heard's going to keep playing that character because I don't know all the stuff about that. But her, and then Batman, and then pretty much all of it. You know, you don't see anybody else, but then you hear the Joker talking. It's Jared Leto's Joker, which a lot of people like clown on, pun slightly not, but also intended at the same time. But people like kind of like diss on his performance, but literally whenever he was sitting there, he was talking like, doing his normal insane Joker stuff, like talking about it, and he was like laughing. And this is what I like about like DC and stuff, even Batman, because this is like the Dark Knight Returns Batman, like the super like I'll do anything for justice, like Batman, like that's the type of Batman that's like in those movies. And he's like, you're lucky we have to work together in order to defeat Superman because Superman becomes evil. He ends up like working for Darkseid, and he's like, you're lucky that we have to work together because I promised her, because Joker like kind of like started all of it, and he's like, I even promised her that after this is all over, I'm fucking killing you. Like he literally just said it just like that. And Joker like looks
Yeah.
at him. Like he literally like that's what Batman says because Batman is so brought down and stuff like that, and it's so dark that literally he's like, yeah, I'm immediately killing you if like once this is resolved if we do like win. Like it's just so like that's what I want to see. It's just like more dark, like kind of
Make it real.
make it real. Yeah. It's pretty much like if they're going by the actual like stuff that happens like in Injustice and like those comics, pretty much Joker, um, he tricks Superman into thinking that Lois Lane is oh what's his name? It's not Abomination. Doomsday. It's Doomsday. He pretty much tricks
Yeah.
Superman into thinking that Lois Lane is Doomsday and Lois Lane is pregnant with their child. And Superman, literally picks up Doomsday. At least in the comics, he picks up quote unquote Doomsday and takes him straight up into space, or just like straight up like kills him, like punches him and kills him. And then like he realizes like the gas wears off because he hits him like with this like gas or whatever, and pretty much he realizes that he just killed Lois Lane, who's his wife, the love of his life, and stuff like that, and he like just absolutely loses it. And I mean, Joker's alive in like the movies, but in like Injustice itself, like Superman goes and finds Joker, who Batman arrested, and he literally just straight up kills him. And Batman is like sitting there you'll never see Batman like that. Like he's just absolutely astonished. Like he's literally like he is like, oh my god, like Joker like actually kind of like broke Superman type thing. It's like that type of shit's so good. But that's besides the point. I prefer DC over Marvel. That's the end. That's the moral of my story.
And it's just like the reason that I love dark stuff is just because it's usually more realistic. Like I just hate whenever
It
stuff
feels
is
more real.
censored for no reason, or like censored whenever whenever it should clearly be dark. Like show it for what it is, not for what you wish it was. Like I don't know how to explain it. Like it's like they wish that it was like censored to that degree, but it's like it's not, and it shouldn't be. Like there's so many things that their quality is just lowered because they're so afraid of letting it be what it should be or what it really is. There's nothing wrong with wanting to take stuff in a different direction when you completely miss the point of something because you're censoring it. Just like, oh, I don't want this to be bad. It's like, well, that's not going to do whatever it is, like whether it's writing or a movie. It's not going to do it justice. Like you're bringing its quality down because you're afraid of showing it for what it really is, and what it really is probably something amazing, and it just gets completely ruined by censorship.
Yeah, or you have to have the sheer amount of legendary storytelling and world building that like a show like One Piece has, because even though One Piece definitely is darker like in the manga, at least like in what they show, like even the anime itself, it doesn't show too much blood. I mean, it shows more now, I would say, than obviously compared to whenever it first came out. But the thing is you either gotta like you said, you either gotta make it more like real or whatever, or you have to like somehow create the same like impact or feelings like how One Piece kind of does. That's like the best example I can think of, because every single like
Yeah.
thing that comes full circle in One Piece, it hits hard. It like it hits you right in your emotions, or like it hits you right in like the oh my god type of like this is terrible, or like wow type thing, depending on what it is. I'm not going to spoil anything for One Piece because I already did that in like another in like episode 1 or 2. But it's just like you like if you're gonna go more like the kid friendly route or more of like the not super dark route, you have to at least give the show or movie or book or whatever the impact that it needs in order to make people, want to watch it or like make it feel worth watching this movie.
Exactly.
I mean, again, I'm going to use The Dark Knight because it did that. Throughout Dark Knight, it's not the most graphic movie. I mean, there's like violence and stuff in it, and there's barely any blood. But literally, like like throughout the movie, the Joker is playing all these games and like terrorizing Gotham, and he wants to prove to Batman that he can break down even the mightiest and most righteous of people. So he goes and he breaks down Harvey Dent and turns him into Two Face. He psychologically changes him to have this kind of warped sense of justice. And he pretty much in that movie, I mean, you want to talk about a hero succeeding? Batman fails because um, at the end of that movie, you know, Harvey Dent gets turned into Two Face and then he dies, right? And then
Yeah.
everybody hates Batman. Pretty much, Batman chooses to become like this, still like the vigilante that the police need to take down and that people still look up to, but like he makes it still look like he's kind of like not. I don't know, like he has like lofty goals or something like that. He makes it that he's still hated, like he's still like feared and hated by even the police, other than like Commissioner Gordon, because he knows the truth. And then they lay to rest Harvey Dent, even though that he killed people in cold blood and murdered them. They actually laid him to rest as a hero because they didn't want Gotham to lose all of their hope from him dying and finding out that he actually like became a villain and stuff like that. And
Yeah.
Batman just flat out loses. Like he has to like he was on the run from the cops now. Like that's how you create impact, you know what I mean? Like that's how things get done. I don't know. I mean that movie is also like a 10 out of 10 like masterpiece movie, but
Yeah, that movie's really good.
but I think we've been talking for an hour and 14 minutes. Well, more like an hour and like 11 minutes because we were
Yeah,
gone for
because
that.
we both went AFK for a bit.
But
I'm ready to call it. My iced coffee should be here.
yeah, I agree.
French vanilla, for those wondering. You know, the
Mm,
classic, can't go wrong with French vanilla.
just drinking my iced tea. Um, but lads and ladies and anybody who's watching, thank you. We appreciate you watching, especially to the end, because it's pretty impressive watching this long or listening for this long.
Yeah, if you made it to
Um,
the end, thank you.
mm-hmm. People on YouTube, subscribe, like, comment. If give us your 2 cents about anything we talk about. I mean, even if you don't agree, I mean, we want to hear about it, hear your point of view. We're I would say Ben James and I also include James in this. We're generally people who can see both sides or who can at least understand. We know we're not so stubborn where we're like no no we're
Yeah,
not
I
like
mean, as
that type
long as a
of
sound argument's presented, I'm willing to listen
exactly.
in a
So
respectful manner, of course.
so if you want to leave your opinions and your comments, maybe tell us about a game that's like most people don't like or that it kind of got like shit on or what didn't like get the population or recognition it deserves. Did I just say population? Uh
Population and recognition deserved.
my bad. The popularity or the recognition it deserved. What else did we talk about? Maybe movies. Tell us what you think about Marvel movies. I'm interested because I would say I don't know how people think about it because I don't follow like opinions on Marvel or even DC stuff because I'm just kind of a person that likes what I like. I don't really, I'm not really influenced by other people unless my friends like tell me, hey, you should watch this. This is a good movie or a TV show. But tell me what you think about the new Marvel movies. Do you agree with what I said? That the humor is starting to get a little too cringe, a little too like, oh, for me, like, can they at least be a little witty? But just leave out anything that we talked about. Just comment on it. Um, and for the people on Anchor or Spotify or any other podcasting platform, whenever I eventually, go and do the other ones, I don't, would the word just be follow? Probably, it would probably say follow, like follow our
Yeah, something like that.
podcast or like our profile, like it or favorite it, if you enjoyed. And I am Austin, the one who records. and that is Ben, the one
Okay.
who listens to music and drinks coffee all the time. And James doesn't listen, and he doesn't pay attention. He's not here, so technically it still holds up. But with that being said, this was Bad Nightmarish Night, episode 3, and we will see you guys in the next episode.
Thank
Sweet
you.
dreams.